Okay, so it looks like I actually have the freedom to do what I want this time. You know, I have the reins, which means this is gonna be twice as ridiculous as usual.
You do realize I'm still here, do you?
Oh, I thought this was gonna be a solo thing.
Really? After the Assassin's Creed 3 review, you're lucky I let you go to the bathroom by yourself.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway. Alright, so considering I'm the one who played this game, I'll be doing most of the talking. Except that's not exactly the case. Because Eric ended up having to drive up here to help me finish it. I mean, he was visiting anyway, but... well...
Say it, Patrick.
Do I have to?
Say it.
Alright, I was punked by a kid's game.
Damn Skippy you were.
Alright, so anyway, we start out with the opening scene, like most games. It's explained how all these different characters ended up together. Jimmy built a portal that allows access to different universes, but Calamitous, you know, that guy that never finishes anything, well, he managed to get hold of his plans and bring together some seriously unsuccessful villains. But hey, maybe together they can actually get something accomplished. So, I mean, they follow the villain guidebook pretty accurately. Rule number 1, give the group a badass name, the Syndicate. Check.
Are you getting anywhere with this?
Yes I am. So the first level is in Danny's world in the ghost prison. One thing so far that is simply god-awful about this game, the controls are not very conventional and take some getting used to on the PS2, since this was originally meant for PC and I'm pretty sure it was just a port. And I mean, usually, for those who are familiar, X is jump, O is attack, square is action, etc, etc. Well, in this game, X is the attack, which threw me off at first. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad control set, it just takes some getting used to.
Okay, so with the help of the box ghost...
Beware! I am the box ghost!
After you kill some rats for him, you manage to get out of the room you start in. And with a few simple puzzles and other pretty basic enemies, you reach the boss battle.
It's like every other boss battle you fought before, with one small difference. Early on in the level, they tell you have a shield that may not protect you from everything. Well, I figured the shield wouldn't protect you from a boss. Wrong! It does! So basically, this just turns into you standing there with your shield on until the moment to strike comes around. There's none of the usual strafing to avoid him in order to not get killed.
Well, this is a kid's game, remember. But still, it does kind of take out the fun of moving around to slowly drain the enemy's health.
Exactly! So, I mean, we defeat the first boss pretty smoothly, and then we proceed to the next level.
Hey, Pat?
Yeah?
What are these coins for?
You had to remind me. Well, turns out these actually have a purpose, though. You can use them to purchase upgrades when you find Goddard in the level. The only downside to these is the obnoxious bubble sound every time you pick one up. It drives me crazy! Plus, not to mention, you don't even have the opportunity to fully upgrade all the characters before you even reach the end of the game.
The noise doesn't bother me. I think they were trying to go for was to implement each character's own sound effect from their world. Thus, the bubble sound for the coins was obviously for SpongeBob. And hey, that's most games when it comes to upgrading your characters.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta be kidding me, though. Of all the sounds they could have picked.
So, back on the subject of things.
Right. So, not to bore you all to death with the storyline, because if you really cared that much, you can buy the game yourself. Wouldn't recommend it, though. I'm going to give the good and bad of some of the other key elements of this game. Firstly, the graphics. The graphics are average for the time of the release, and you have those basic wall glitches, but there were some other interesting glitches that made gameplay rather difficult. And I mean, for one, characters get stuck pretty frequently where you had to either switch characters so the character could just unstick themselves or wait for the next loading point, or restart the whole freaking level. Anyway, so for the characters themselves, some of them are just downright creepy. Like SpongeBob's eyes, they blink separately from each other, just enough to notice. And Jimmy was just creepy in general. You could tell this was a low-budget game just by the character modeling itself. Also, the camera angle is annoyingly and unfortunately unadjustable. The camera usually keeps up with you pretty good, but I mean, the most annoying part is not being able to fully look around the room unless you literally walk over there. Like having to step inside your fridge to look at the contents.
Well, this wasn't as fun as I hoped.
You, when you reach a new area, some of them are less descriptive and not very helpful. I was completely stuck on one part of the game and ended up dying before I even figured it out. Then Colby comes along and figures it out in one try, the bastard.
Hey, I'm still here, you know.
And then we reach the Crocker battle.
Oh, sweet and salty Jeebus on a stick, the Crocker battle!
Yes, the Crocker battle. Right, so the Crocker battle was probably the hardest boss battle in the entire game, for simply timing alone. You had to get the flying bastard's health all the way down to 0, jump on the fucking clouds, and destroy the electric Tesla thingies before he regained his health again. Then rinse and repeat on 3 different levels of the Fairy Wand Tower. Sounds easy, right?
Wrong! That was freaking impossible. Every level you had less time to stun Crocker, and the Tesla thingies were farther and farther apart. When we finally got to the top of the tower, it must have taken us a solid hour just to beat him. This would have been suicide in single player.
Yeah, and you guys wonder why I was punked by a kid's game.
Also, was it just me, or were some of these characters more powerful than others?
Yeah, Jimmy was about as useless as they come.
Well, let's explain the power system first so the audience understands what we're talking about.
Alright, I'll get the charts.
Maybe I should take care of this one.
Oh, but I already got the puppets.
Each character has its own attack style or class, and with that class, each character has a primary attack and 2 special attacks. Danny is the straight-out brawler class. His primary fighting moves are punching things, and his 2 special moves are possessing enemies, so you can punch even more things, but you can only possess them when they're stunned, and walking through certain walls. Timmy is the sniper class. He has a very accurate shooting wand gun as his primary. His 2 specials allow him to either freeze enemies and objects, or become Clef, the Boy Chin Wonder, and fight with his super strength. SpongeBob was the demolitions expert. He used his foam karate hands as his primary attack, and has bubble bombs, and had a distraction technique that... But that left Jimmy as the weakest class out of everybody. He has a shotgun-like weapon, but it's very short range and not as useful as Timmy's gun. He has a shrink ray, but can only shrink certain objects. And he has a football helmet power-up, which really was only used for puzzles, and in combat was highly ineffective since you really could only go straight. Jimmy, in the first real video game that he was ever in, was the weakest link out of all the characters.
Yeah, and he didn't even make a good nerd. His brain blast was something I could have thought of. It was equivalent to me shouting, "Brain blast!" and saying, "The toast should go in the toaster." And not to mention, he seems to just mostly take suggestions from everyone else for what should be done. Worst leader ever.
Although it seems that Jimmy Neutron universe, in general, was really overlooked. Every character in the universe had its own boss battle. You had Danny Phantom had to fight Vlad, SpongeBob had to fight Plankton, and then you had Timmy who had to fight Crocker. But Professor Calamitous, he shared his boss battle with every other enemy. He didn't have an individual fight. He had to be with everybody else. And think about the worlds that we saw. We got to see Fairy World, we got to see Bikini Bottom and Amity Park, but no Retroville. And every single one of those boss fights I mentioned earlier usually focus on the character of that universe to be able to defeat the boss. But you could be any character and still win it. You didn't have to be Jimmy. You could have completely skipped Jimmy, which was exactly what we did.
And not to mention, they used the older character version of Cindy. This was clearly a low-budget game.
Well, let's just get this game over with. So you discover that each character was trying to conquer the dimensions, but as soon as they all failed, they decided to instead destroy all of them. Aren't they a good sport? So Calamitous creates a machine to protect the villains while the Nicktoons gang tries to stop them from destroying the universes.
Alright, spoilers here, guys. So SpongeBob is completely ignored by everyone else who is suggesting random things in a panic to stop the destruction sequence. You then see the machine shut off and SpongeBob just standing there holding the plug. Sounds like SpongeBob.
This game is an easy playthrough. There's no completion as bonus. Beating the final boss means that you beat the game. There's nothing left to find after that point. There's no real reason to invest your time into the game. There's no real reason to even put your money into upgrading your weapons.
And not to mention, this game's just straight up difficult. Not because it's hard, but because it's so cheap. This game literally has more glitches than Sonic 06.
Even with the humor, there's no replay value in the game. And with that being said, we have to give this game our verdict on the Rage Glorification meter of meh to rage about it.
So, I think that covers everything. So, this is Raging Glory signing off.
That sounds like a very attractive damsel in distress.
It is time.
Raging Glory Unite! Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks again for watching the entire thing. If you like it, please give us a thumbs up, as well as probably hit the subscribe button if you like what we do. It really tells us that you want to see more of what we make. And apologies for how long this video has taken. I know this was supposed to be for March Nickelodeon month, and it's getting close to 2016. But nevertheless, we got it done, finally. We only have one more video to do, and then we can continue doing what we want to do. Anyway, thank you again. This is Colby Colbert signing off, and thank you once again.